Hey Ash, we know you've been looking forward to our naval battles, and we also know that you like stuff that makes a lot of noise, and that can blow things up. We know that our community is a strong believer in bigger is always better. That's why I'm happy to tell you we added the light cruisers to our naval battles, and trust me, the cannons on those pack quite a punch. Now I got sent that email a couple of days ago. In fact it was under NDA as well, but I've known that light cruisers have been coming to War Thunder for some time, and now they're finally here. So, this was my first match that I'm playing them, and typically this is going to be first impressions, but I'm doing my first impressions in post. And now, one of the reasons why you don't see me playing naval battles very often is because A, I'm an aviation crank. I love aviation. I like tanks, they're interesting, but they don't interest me as much. But I have never in the life of me been interested in ships, and I struggle with anything ship related just because it's really out of my area of interest, and because I really don't like boats. I really don't like the open water. I'm not scared of it, but it just, naval for me, naval forces in general, they don't really interest me. And while I consistently kept up with the schedule and various things that Gajan had put out there to try and test naval battles, it's been over 2.5, 3 years since we've really seen anything major come to naval battles itself. However, this time it felt different. I was rather impressed by the way that the boat moved and sat in the water, how the waves sort of rolled around it. When you tried to do a turn, the vehicle, or should I say ship, would turn and sort of rock side to side like it would in real life. And it looked, sounded, and felt like a proper ship, like it would actually move or maneuver. It even had crew on the deck. Something that you could see from various light anti-aircraft guns. You could actually visually see the crew, which was something that I had missed from other games that featured warships and various different classes and sizes. Overall, as I probably previously said, the graphics were very pretty, very striking, and the modules felt like you could take an absolute beating from other ships, except for torpedoes, that's another story altogether, or bombs from high altitude, or from Lancasters dropping 4,000 pound cookies on you. But generally speaking, the anti-ship gameplay was fairly monotonous. It was fairly easy to comprehend, point and click. And I think this has been a consistent problem even with the smaller boats, because the aim controls for your various weapons was a consistent problem throughout, I think, all of the testing modes that they have done in the last 2.5 years. But anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss today. Now today we're going to be taking a look at one of the new light cruisers. I don't have footage with the Italian one, I'm sorry. But we're going to be taking a look at the HMS Enterprise, which is an Emerald class light cruiser, which has, you know, capable speeds of up to 13 knots, very decent armour, and it has 7 152mm main cannons, as well as a whole host of various anti-aircraft cannons and machine guns. It's even got torpedo tubes, which I was really struggling to use during the test. The whole visual indicator of where my torpedo tubes are actually aimed was a little bit tricky to get used to, and on top of that, when you take several hits in the middle of taking a lot of fire from another cruiser nearby, your modules tend to get damaged quite quickly, and of course one of my torpedo tubes actually exploded, causing me to repair even further. And as you can see here, I'm trying to figure out how to actually use my torpedoes. But I have no clue how, because it's been so long since I've tested them. The last time I actually used torpedoes and played a naval match was actually for the April Fool's submarines. And while that was about 3 weeks ago, this is certainly a big step up from April Fool's. And I'm enjoying this. As everything and their mother's dog decides to open up on the distance. So, no, alright, well, something's out there. Gotta aim this direction and see if there's a ship over there. It just appears my secondary armament of trying to fire over the island here. I have no idea what they're trying to fire at. Oh my goodness, they are loud. But it's a good kind of loud, it's not a terrible kind of loud, and that's when I spot the silhouette on the horizon there. Again, the torpedo tubes automatically lock on like that, and once you've selected a target, then the torpedo tubes, you know, acquire target. At which point everything just opens fire. Literally everything. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm confused. I can see things coming out from behind the island there, and I'm trying to reload. The amount of fire coming out of my ship around this point in time is impressively important here, because it was actually more of a distraction for me to keep track of the target, even though my secondaries were lighting the absolute shit out of the enemy coming around from this island here. Now, I happen to be particularly lucky because I was actually crossing his T. The enemy ships had driven directly in front of my guns, but because my ship was in the orientation that it was, just driving straight forward in a linear direction that had my target, my ship silhouette, sort of facing in the narrowest point possible, he found it really hard to sort of attack me. Here it goes, he's going broadside with me now. This is an Italian cruiser. I'm stopped right in the middle of the water here, just absolutely dead. Have no idea what's going on. I'm pressing all the repair buttons, trying to get things moving. He deploys his smoke screen, and his secondaries are just laying into me. The objective here is mainly to critical each other's components till they're black. Now, I've scored a couple of decent hits into the side of this Italian cruiser, and I'm still pummeling him away with just various amounts of ordnance. I'm starting to repair here, and of course the boat is swaying a considerable amount. We've got critical damage everywhere, but let's just try and open up with everything we got. I'm trying to constantly reload into various ammunition types to try and test them, but apparently you can only have the choice to load your primary guns, so to speak. You've got armor piercing or you've got high explosive. Now when I tried firing armor piercing, it reloaded instantly when I fired back into high explosive. It was quite strange, and as you can see here, I'm struggling to use my torpedoes. As I explained at the very start of this voiceover, I couldn't quite figure it out. And my torpedo tubes, as you can see here, they're glitching out on the back here. I have no clue what's going on, but my ship is definitely going to sink here soon. Now he's done the unfortunate mistake and nearly beached himself, so he's correcting for that. I'm trying to get my guns down to try and fire off a salvo at his lower portion of his front bow there, but unfortunately that really doesn't go too well for me. Now he's at my rear where I have the least amount of armor. He for sure will just tear me a new arsehole. Now let's recap, considering I've just waffled on for about 6 or 7 minutes. This event is definitely well worth your time if you've got access and if you've got the email inviting you to test out the cruisers in the first place. Cruisers are particularly slow, the gameplay is quite monotonous, but it is interesting if you're into larger ship combat. But anyway, we're going to leave it there. Sorry I didn't showcase some of the other footage that I had. As I was transferring some of that footage over to another hard drive, the footage that I had corrupted, so I didn't really have the 3-kill game that I got in this particular light cruiser, which was actually the next match, once I figured out that you could use multiple different control configurations. But yeah, that's another story altogether. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with this short clip of me bombing the shit out of a cruiser here with my Lancaster. So, my name's Ash, and I'll catch you in the next one.